Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing an oil change on a 2010 Lexus RX350. So let's get started. Okay, so here we are under the car. This is the engine oil pan and this is the drain plug. You can loosen it with a 14mm socket. Once you break it loose, you'll want to position your drain pan underneath. Go ahead and remove the plug. There we go. And we'll let that drain completely. Okay, so we're down to just a drip. We're going to reinstall our drain plug. And just snug it up. There we go. And we'll just wipe up the excess oil. Next up, we'll remove the filter. All right, so here's the oil filter housing. First up, we'll use a 3/8 extension to remove this bottom cap. Just a little bit of oil will come out there. And next up, your new oil filter should come with one of these little fittings that will snap into this oil filter housing and allow you to drain the oil filter. There we go. And we'll let that drain. Okay, so this is down to just a drip. We'll remove the little plug that came with our new oil filter. That just pops out. And now we're ready to remove the housing. So I've got a 65mm oil filter wrench, which will slide onto the housing. A little bit tight today. Let me see if I ate my Wheaties this morning. There we go. That's definitely tighter than it normally is. I'm gonna run it back in so I can break the wrench loose. There we go. And there'll be a little bit more oil that drips down, but for the most part, we should have gotten it all. There we go. So hardly any oil dripping down. And here's a look at the old oil filter. Go ahead and pull that out. So you can see it's a cartridge style oil filter. So we'll be replacing that, and we'll just clean up the housing and reinstall the housing with the new filter. Okay, so here is a look at everything that comes with our new filter. We're using a Mobile One filter. The part number is M1C251A. So the first thing we want to do is remove the old O-ring from our housing. So I'm just going to use a little flat screwdriver. Just be careful not to damage anything. And just roll the old O-ring off. I'll clean out the groove here a little bit. We'll get out the new O-ring that came with the filter. I've got just a little bit of fresh oil here, so we want to coat this new O-ring in some fresh oil. Never want to install that dry. There we go. And we'll just work that down the filter housing and into the groove. There we go. I'll flip this over now. So here's that bottom drain plug. This also comes with a new O-ring. A little bit of oil on this O-ring as well. Place it there in the groove. And then we'll just loosely install this drain cap. And we'll tighten this all up once we get it on the car. And then last but not least, our new filter. So again, this is a cartridge style filter. This will just slide into the housing. And it is spring loaded. So just make sure it's seated down all the way. And there we go. We're ready to put the housing back on the car. Okay, so here's our cartridge with the new filter installed. And we'll thread that back into the engine. We'll use the oil filter wrench just to snug it up. That should do the trick. And then we'll snug up the drain cap here as well. There we go, we're all done underneath. Here we are under the hood. We're gonna go ahead and remove the oil filler cap. And this engine takes 0W20 oil. With the cap removed, I'm going to clean off just the tiny bit of excess oil. I'm going to sweep it away from the engine here as well, so nothing falls down in. There we go. We'll install our funnel. And then for this oil change, I'm using Mobil 1 0W20. And the total capacity for this engine is 6.4 quarts. So we'll go ahead and just fill it up. And we'll reinstall our cap before starting the engine. There we go. All right, so we've run the engine for a little while. I've shut it off and let it cool off. We'll now check the engine oil level. So the dipstick is located right here on the front of the engine. We'll go ahead and pull that out. Just wipe it clean. I'll reinsert it. Pull it back out. And here we've got two little dimples on this car. So you can see this first dimple is full of oil. The second dimple doesn't have any oil in it, and you can kind of see where the oil came to. It's kind of right between those two dimples, so that's perfect. We're right between the max and the min fill position. Okay, so with the oil change complete, you'll want to reset your oil maintenance required light. So to do that, sit in the driver's seat, do not hit the brake pedal, and push the start button. And then push it a second time. And this will bring up your trip odometer, and it'll also show you the oil maintenance required warning. So we see that on the instrument cluster currently. So your trip odometer button is down here by your left knee. You can cycle through trip A, trip B, or the main odometer. You actually want to leave this on trip A, hold the odometer button in, and keep holding it while we turn the ignition back off. So I'll push in here, and I'll turn the ignition back off. I'm still holding the odometer button. Turn the ignition back on. Push it a second time. And we can see that it's resetting data. There's a little countdown. There we go. So the oil maintenance has been reset. All right guys, thanks for watching. We'll be back to work on the truck in the next video. If you can, please do hit that like button and subscribe.